In a classroom where dreams were graded by bias, a young girl's voice was treated like a problem. 10 years later, that same voice echoes through the halls of power, calm, confident, and unstoppable. This is a story about silence broken, justice served, and a woman who learned that success speaks loudest of all. At Eastview High School, a place that smelled of chalk dust and quiet competition, 16-year-old Amara Lewis sat in the back row, sharp-minded, curious, and always ready to ask, why? Her questions weren't meant to challenge authority. They came from a hunger to understand. But in a world where confidence was often mistaken for defiance, not everyone saw it that way. Her English teacher, Mr. Wallace, a man who prided himself on discipline more than empathy, had a rule: speak when spoken to. Amara broke that rule often. Whenever she'd raise her hand, eager to express her thoughts, his eyes would narrow, his tone sharp. "Miss Lewis, maybe if you listen more and talk less, you'd learn something." The class laughed. Amara's heart burned. But she held her chin high. "I am listening, sir. I just have ideas too." He gave a tight smile. "Ideas are for people who passed their exams." That line haunted her. Final exams came. Amara worked harder than anyone. But when the results were posted, she found her name missing from the honor list. She approached his desk, voice trembling but respectful. "Sir, there must be a mistake." He cut her off. "Amara, you failed. Maybe next time, you'll focus on learning instead of proving a point." Her stomach dropped. She felt the room spin. It wasn't just a grade. It was humiliation. And deep down, she knew it wasn't about her ability. It was personal. That night, she cried silently at her desk, her notes spread out like shattered dreams. Her mother, Clara Lewis, entered quietly. "Baby, don't let one person decide your worth. Let him think you're small. It'll make your rise even bigger." Amara looked up, eyes filled with determination. "Then I'll rise so high he'll have to look up just to see me." Years passed. College wasn't easy. She worked 2 jobs, tutor by day, waitress by night. Every "no" she heard pushed her harder. Every time someone underestimated her, she smiled, because she knew one day she'd walk into a room that once rejected her and own it. After graduating top of her class in education and administration, she got her first real job, assistant coordinator for the state education board. She worked in silence, observing, learning. While others played politics, she built systems, connected communities, and introduced programs that gave students a voice, the same voice she'd once been denied. In just 6 years, she became the youngest director of educational reform in her state. The media called her the voice that changed schools. One Monday morning, her secretary placed a file on her desk. "Ms. Lewis, new applicant for district supervisor position, Mr. Wallace." Her pen froze midair. The name was unmistakable. She leaned back in her chair, heartbeat steady but mind racing. She opened the file. Same sharp signature. Same confident tone in the resume. But this time, he was the one asking for approval. She closed the folder slowly. Scheduled the interview. Conference room. Bright daylight. Polished glass table. Mr. Wallace entered, older, grayer, but still carrying that same smugness. He extended his hand. "Good morning, miss." Then he froze. Recognition hit him. "Amara?" She smiled politely. "Good morning, Mr. Wallace. Please have a seat." He sat down awkwardly. She spoke evenly. "I read your application. Impressive background. You've been teaching for over 20 years. He chuckled nervously. Yes, I believe experience speaks for itself. Her gaze didn't waver. It does. But so do results. He shifted uncomfortably. So you're in charge now? I am, she said softly. The education director. The silence in the room was deafening. He looked down, embarrassed. You were always bright, he said quietly. Maybe I was too hard on you. She smiled faintly. You weren't too hard. You were too afraid. His eyes lifted, confused. Afraid of what? Of being questioned. Of being challenged by someone you didn't expect to have the answers. She stood, walked to the window, and looked out at the city skyline. You know, I used to think your approval defined me. Now I realize your limits never did. She turned, walked to her desk, and slid his application back toward him. You'll be hearing from HR. Thank you for coming. He started to rise, but paused. Amara, I just want to say, I'm proud of who you've become. She met his gaze. I became her because of what she taught me, just not in the way you think. Weeks later, she stood at a school board meeting, presenting a new initiative. Voices Matter, Student Empowerment in Education. Behind her, on a projector screen, her slogan read, The classroom is not a cage, it's a launch pad. Applause filled the hall. She smiled, not because she'd won, but because she'd finally healed. Months later, while walking through Eastview High, she paused outside the classroom where it all began. A new teacher stood at the board, encouraging a shy student to speak. Go ahead, the teacher said. Your thoughts matter. Amara smiled. Her reflection in the glass aligned with the young girl's, past and present meeting perfectly. Whispering softly, she said, That's how change looks. He silenced her voice, but she turned silence into strength. He graded her down, life graded her higher. And when their paths crossed again, her success didn't need revenge. It spoke louder than words.